why should I do a discovery when I can implement it in the same time? Hello again and welcome back to another episode of Digitalog. I am Robert, and in this episode we want to talk about discovery and the methodology behind. And this episode especially is more of a high-level overview, so we're not talking too much into details today, but this will come in the future. And to get this overview and why we do discoveries here at DPM and what the outcome of a discovery could be, we want to talk today with Sinah. And therefore, welcome Sinah to this episode.
Hi Robert, really pleased to be here today. Well, maybe I use the opportunity to quickly introduce myself. So I work as a senior product manager for DPM since roughly 2 years now, and I work in the service design and concept team, which is focused on discoveries, especially, and also user research. And therefore, I'm here today and looking very much forward to talk a bit more into depth about what discovery is all about and why we're doing it.
Right. We probably all know discoveries from Indiana Jones and from all the other adventurous people out there, but maybe for all of the people out there, we can just sum up what the discovery is before we're digging into how we do it and like what's the outcome and stuff like that.
I would say it's definitely adventurous, maybe not as adventurous as with Indiana Jones, but...
Why not?
Yeah, let's see. But I guess, to make it a little bit less abstract, it totally makes sense to start with an example, right? And imagine you would have a product idea, right? And you would want to know, well, is that product idea going to be successful or not? And there's this very famous example of one man in the US, and he actually started to think about selling shoes online. What's totally now normal in our days was not normal back then, and he wanted to actually validate his product idea. So what he did was he went into the shoe stores, took pictures of the shoes, and then uploaded those pictures to a landing page, and then he was just seeing, well, do people actually respond to those images? Without even trying the shoes on, would they actually buy the shoes online? And people actually started buying those shoes online. And what did he do? He went into the shoe stores, bought the shoes, and then went back and sent them via postmail, I guess. And that's how he did it. So quite creative, I would say. And that's in a nutshell how we do it with product ideas these days as well.
Trying to think how we can prove that concept that we're thinking of. And I think I have 1001 different ideas in my head, but I can't all prove them to be true. But yeah, you have to be creative in some way to think about or think out of the box to how can this be validated. And sometimes it's just the most obvious thing and ask people. We could drop the Henry Ford quote as well, but I don't want to do that right now. Because of course we are not asking them what they want, but we want to know like what are their pains and what are their expectations, and then our job is to think about how we want to come along with a solution that fits these needs.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, we all have product ideas in our head, right? We think about, this could be so useful, but how do we know that actually other people think it's useful as well? So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because we think it's useful, other people think the same, or there's an actual broad demand for it.
Yeah.
So therefore, it totally makes sense to deeply understand your customers, or specifically the users in this case, to develop products that fit or suit their needs. Yeah. And this is totally crucial.
Yeah, I think, and also it's becoming harder and harder, right? So there are so many different products out there. Mostly every need is already targeted somehow. So it's getting more difficult to do it.
Yeah, and on the other side, we also have to consider that, I mean, there's always a business behind it in our case, right?
Wait, what? We're not doing it all for the users.
No, unfortunately.
We can't offer everything for free.
No,
Why
there's
not?
usually there's a business model behind it, and there are some companies who actually need to make money with it. So we should never forget to consider that there are actually customers that we're serving, and we always want to take their business perspective in mind as well. That's why we research the user needs, right, on the one hand, but we also take the business perspective into account, and then we try to bring both together within the discovery process.
That sounds very reasonable to me.
Absolutely, because in the end, 9 out of 10 startups fail, and obviously there are many reasons for it, but the most common reason is that there's no market need for the product. So we're helping companies sometimes in the early stage of product development, or in the early stage of idea finding, but also later on to always validate what they have in mind with the feedback of their customers.
You already said that 9 out of 10 companies fail with their product ideas. And at least I learned back then when I started, failing fast and failing is actually a good thing, which kind of was a mind-blowing learning back then. But maybe you can tell why it's important to think of a discovery in that kind of way, that failing is actually a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, usually we have that conversation with our clients as well, right? Because we are like, why should we actually do a discovery? They usually want to start right away with implementing the products, and we have to find, or we just want to present some arguments why it's really relevant to do a discovery. And first of all, usually uncertainty in the beginning is very high, right? So as I said, there's a product idea, but you have no clue whether people out there will like it or not, and will they actually buy it or not. Even if they like it, they might not buy it. So that's also a problem that you might face. So you want to reduce uncertainty in the very beginning with the less investment as you can have. Yeah, so that's the good thing about discovery. You don't actually have to invest a lot of money. It's about really talking to customers. It's not about writing one single line of code. It's really just understanding your customers, taking the business perspective into mind, and then also having like the feasibility aspect in mind. So actually building then products not only customers or users love and your business can afford to build, but also that you're able to build with existing or bought solutions. And another aspect that you mentioned is you should not be afraid to fail fast. I mean, actually, discovery is about failing, right? Because you will have assumptions that you built in the beginning. So everything is assumption-based in the first place. Then you go out there and validate your assumptions against customer feedback. And it can happen that your users or potential users say, well, we don't actually like that. And that your hypothesis gets invalidated. And then, I mean, you fail. But failing is nothing bad because then you saved a lot of money. So that's why I'm always saying, like, don't be afraid. It's especially in the early stage, it totally makes sense. It saves you a lot of money and helps you in the end to actually create sustainable products that you will actually be able to sell and that actually users will love.
I really can understand that perspective then, because there's this thing out there that you always fall in love with the first solution that you thought of, and I really can relate to that. So I had many ideas, and I love them all. So I think that's the crucial part of shifting your mindset towards failing is a good thing. That you also leave your ideas go if they're not worth following it.
And don't always see it as a bad thing. Of course, you stand behind some ideas and you love them and then you have to let them go. But maybe you uncover some new potential and you see some new areas where you could actually build some products, and that can also give it a whole new drive.
Yeah. And also a thing that I heard a lot in the last years was, why should I do a discovery when I can implement it in the same time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, implementing it, yeah, of course, you could start doing that, but then that gets you back to what I said in the beginning, right? Then you implement it, you put a lot of, or invest a lot of money into it, you have like obviously many resources working on it, and then in the end, you might end up with a product that, first of all, is not successful on the market. As I said, 9 out of 10 startups fail. And then on the other side, you also have a team standing behind it, and you have kind of also responsibility towards that team, and that team might work on something that in the end no one else will like, and that's also some kind of frustration that's going to build up on. So why not just take a step back and be bold to fail and to then really invest. I mean, we're not talking about years there. We're talking about a few weeks, a few months that you invest into a discovery that will then, in the end, save you so much more.
So you mentioned it's all assumption based. And when I hear assumptions, I immediately think about my study time, and this feels very scientific. How does that work? Like,
as I said in the very beginning, it's adventurous, of course. No, but yeah, you can think of 2 different levels, right? Like it's 2 different spaces we're looking at. We start with the problem space, and that sounds a bit negative, but it's all but negative, because what we do there is look at the user problems and try to understand these problems thoroughly before we then go into the solution space, which is more like, first of all, we research, like as I said before, the users, but also the market, also try to understand what are the business goals of our clients. And then in the solution space, based on the research we have done before, we can actually then go into finding ideas that fit the problems we identified in the first space. And although we often have like a general idea in the very beginning that we want to validate, we might end up with different ideas in the problem space, and then, with different problems in the problem space, and those we can then use to actually not only maybe broaden the first idea that we had, but also identify other ideas, other business potentials, and how these could fit the strategy of our clients.
So first of all, thinking about what different problems are out there, then trying to understand if they actually are valid, and then you have to prioritize somehow to see which problem is worth solving, and then it goes to finding solutions, right?
Mm-hmm. Like user value, but also have the greatest business impact, and then also are realizable, right? Because what does it help you if you have an idea that your users love and also fits your business, but then you have no technical solutions to build it? And this is also what brings back like the 3 levels we at DPM consider when doing a discovery.
Yeah.
Is that like, first and foremost, we have the desirability. So do users actually like and need the product or the idea we have in mind? Mm-hmm. Then the viability. So is the client that we're serving, do they have, is it helping their business to, or is it also profitable to have that idea realized? And then is the 3rd level to look at the technical perspective, so the feasibility, and do we actually have like to build the solutions on our own, or can we also buy it? So having that assessment as well brings all those 3 levels together into the discovery as we do it at DPM.
So that sounds like the holy Venn diagram of digital product building. So I think we all have seen this already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's in the end it boils down to design thinking, and having really like a fit out of the problem space and the solution space, and bring it all together into the 3 levels that I described.
All right, and once I have done like the validation of the solution and I've shipped it to a customer, is there one additional step that I should take, or is then the discovery over? Or
no, that's also what we want to ensure that we have a smooth transition towards implementation. So as I said, like discovery is like the initial step before you go into product development. Therefore, you have to ensure that based on the ideas that you prioritized and that you formed your concept with, that this concept is then again split into epics, user stories, into a roadmap. And obviously, we also want to make sure to have an MVP defined. So you don't want to start with a whole lot of solutions or implementing the whole solution right away, but you might want to start a minimum viable product first. And then again, this product can be validated along the implementation.
And all the other features that might come in the future, right?
Obviously.
So in the very first beginning, when you introduced yourself, you just said that discoveries is a huge part of the service offerings at DPM. So is there a special DPM way, or are you just performing it out of the school books?
Obviously, we take the school books as a base because there's a reason why there are school books. But I would definitely say that we formed a DPM way out of it. And one aspect is definitely that we take all those levels into consideration that I mentioned before. So desirability, viability, and feasibility. But not only we take them into account, we also have like experts in all those fields. So we are built in a way at DPM that we can serve all those areas and bring in those experts. And this is also how we like to work with our clients, that we have like teams formed out of experts from different departments, and therefore we can really consult our clients in those specific areas. And that totally makes one part of the DPM way. But next to that, I would say the way we work with our clients is maybe it's not unique, but at least it's very special. So it's not that like they just hand over something to us and then we just execute it, but we really try to work in a collaborative manner. So that means that we, like, for example, at the start of each project, we have a kickoff, we have regular check-ins, we have workshops together. So it's not like we provide like all the inputs or insights. It's really working with the client towards a solution that in the end they also stand behind. And
so as you said, not only the execution but also some part of consulting and like teaching them how like the methodologies work.
Totally. And we also try to establish long-term partnerships with our clients. And we are not only able to offer discovery, but we also aim towards supporting them with the implementation. Sometimes that's with us. Sometimes we also consult them with finding the right implementation partner because we lack the capacity, or a different solution partner might have a greater expertise in that specific product.
Depending on the tech stack and stuff.
Exactly.
Like that.
So it's not about like we want to do it all. It's really we take the situation of the client into account. We see, okay, in which stage are they of the product development and how can we support them best with the methods at hand.
You would say no discovery is like the other.
No, definitely not. I mean, obviously we have a set of methods and tools, and we will always adjust to a client situation and see what methods do actually fit the client situation, and then together find like the best tool set, that's for sure. But one other important factor or element is that it's not about just methods and tools, it's about the mindset, right? It's like having a continuous mindset, a discovery mindset. And what I mean with that is that you start building a product that you hopefully discovered and validated before, and then you build it, but you don't end with MVP or like it's an ongoing process, right? It's an ongoing development process. And it's the same for discovery. I mean, each element of the product you have to validate again against customer feedback. And therefore you want to implement like a mindset, and implement is maybe not the right word, but establish a mindset within a company where it's about continuous discovery, where it's about continuous product development supported by the discovery process. And this is totally connected also to having the mindset for it.
So it's starting with every single feature idea starting right from the beginning, or at least you can somehow build on top what you already discovered.
Yeah, and it sounds a bit exhausting like that, but that's not the case, because you have so many different methods that you can use. And it can be that, for example, you have a feature and then even an A/B test would be like validation against customer feedback. It's just having that mindset to not just be prone enough, like, or too bold, like, let's say it this way, to just throw it out into the market without validating it against customer feedback.
So not only rely on the smartness of one person that might have one good idea, but if it's not a good idea at the end, you probably wouldn't know without the discovery.
Yeah, then it would just be lucky if that idea succeed, but
the 1 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. And you might want to go for actually validated results instead of luck.
So I'm imagining that I would be a client of yours, and I would consider buying or purchasing a discovery project from you. So what do I actually get out of it? So maybe you kind of touched everything already, but
you want to get
I want to get
paper.
I want to get a bullet list that I can take with me.
Yeah, totally understandable. I mean, we face that in so many sales calls, so that's totally understandable. I mean, first and foremost, you get customer-centric solutions. You in this area, you will have, first and foremost, obviously, profound user research and understanding, together with also a market and competitor analysis. Often, we also start with a customer journey analysis and a customer journey map that we build in order to then identify the pains, gains, and jobs of customers. We start with persona definition, but then all of this ends up with validated concepts and solutions, prioritized solutions that then form the base for the concept. Then on the other side, we build solutions that take the business perspective into account. So having really like strategic business goals in our also final presentation, final summary that we take into account. And
so like a holistic proof of concept from all different perspectives.
Exactly. So not only, as I said in the very beginning, we don't only listen to users, that's what we do in the first place, but we also listen to our clients and then bring those two worlds together and really also analyze the business models and or the business model itself, and then see how the customer feedback fits into that business model and what you can actually use with it, and what strategic steps make sense to actually go into the implementation. And that's again like the third big outcome that we have is like this smooth transition to implementation. So based on the concept that we built, we are able to derive the MVP, the relevant epics and features that you need to build, or in order to have that MVP available, and then actually hand over a roadmap, but also not only handing it over, but also consulting the client further, or you as a client further, with how we can actually bring it to the road. How can we implement it? Either it's with our help or we help with finding the right solution partner.
Okay, look at me. Obviously, I am convinced. So from that perspective, I'm pretty satisfied. But for all the people out there, we normally try to nail down all the things that we discussed to what are the key insights, the key takeaways for our listeners and people out there.
Okay, don't get me started, but I try to reduce it to the key points. So first of all, as I said, reduce uncertainty with less or as low investment as possible in the early stage of product development. Then don't be afraid to fail. Fail fast and fail early. It will help you in the long run. And then you want to obviously have the right problem solution fit. That means you want to serve the customers with the solutions that actually fit their needs. But on the other side, we support our clients with finding the right solution market fit, so that in the end, the solution actually also brings the return on investment that they're actually looking for. And then last, I would say it's having a really customer-oriented mindset, and not only having that mindset, but really working towards a customer-centric organization and supporting our clients with that process to really not seeing it as a one-time thing, but actually a lifelong discovery engagement.
Thank you very much. I think you couldn't have done it better.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, again, we're at the end of this episode, and I would say thank you for listening. Thank you for watching again. And as always, we're eager to hear your opinion, your feedback. Have you done a discovery already and want to exchange with us? You can always leave us a comment wherever you stumble upon this episode. We're happy to hear your feedback. And yeah, at the end, I hope you liked what you heard. If you liked it, then of course we're happy about some likes, some 5-star ratings wherever you are, and then hopefully we see you soon in the next episode. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and then see you again. Bye bye.